So we're continuing Masechta Chullin, chapter 8. The name of the chapter is Kol Habasar. Kioso Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael, 106a1. Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia. He related, Mayim harishonim me'echilu b'sar chazir. A person's failure to wash the first waters, meaning the water before we eat, fed him pork. The last waters removed a woman from her husband. What does it mean? Just because he didn't do the first water, it caused them to eat pork, and because they didn't do the last water, a woman was removed from her husband. So it says in number 2, because someone did not wash his hands before a meal, he ended up eating pork. There was a Jewish restaurateur who served kosher food to Jews and nevela to non-Jews. Okay, he had multi-cultured restaurant. One side for Jews and the left side for non-Jews. A Jew once patronized the inn and did not wash his hands before eating. Seeing that he did not wash his hands as required by halacha, the restaurateur assumed that he was a Gentile and served him pork. Okay, so in those days, I think over here they didn't mention it, that in those days the Jews were afraid to look like Jews, and they were not allowed to keep Jewish laws. So they didn't announce, "Oh, I'm a Jew." And how would the restaurateur know that you're a Jew or not? He see if you wash your hands, he knew that you're a Jew. If you didn't wash your hands, he knew that you weren't a Jew.
Not washing for doing a motzi, just washing.
No, for a motzi.
For motzi.
Eating before eating a meal. So you go to a meat restaurant, they serve you bread, right?
If you go to wash.
And then he saw that he wasn't washing, so he assumed he was a goy, and he served him pork, and the guy ate. And the last one, it says, because someone did not wash his hands after a meal, he ended up divorcing his wife. What's the connection? So the Gemara in Yuma 83b relates that Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi stayed at a certain inn over the Shabbos. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi entrusted their purses with the innkeeper, whose name was Kidor. Okay? After the Shabbos, Kidor denied having been entrusted with their money. Okay? Noticing that there were lentils on Kidor's mustache, the rabbis went to his wife and said to her, "Your husband says that you should return our purses, so that you will know we are telling the truth. He told us to mention that the two of you ate lentils today." She fell for the ploy and returned the purses to them. There are two versions as to what happened next. According to one version, Kidor got so angry at his wife that he killed her. According to the other version, he merely divorced her. So, the rabbis would never know that he ate lentils if he would do mayim achronim and wash his hands. That's because he washed his hands, and so it would clean his mouth. So they used it against him. Rabbi Meir didn't give the money to Kidor. Rabbi Meir said, "Yes, Rabbi Meir, why didn't you give the money?" He said, "Because his name is Kidor. Kidor has a negative connotation, and therefore he didn't trust him. And didn't give him he didn't entrust the money with him to begin with." So Kioso Rabin when Ravin came later from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he related the following version: Rishonim echilu b'sar nevela, achronim orgu b'sar. So this is another. Instead of saying pork, they're saying that he ate nevela meat, and achronim, and the last incident with Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, orgu b'sar nefesh, they caused this guy to kill his wife. Amar Nachman bar Yitzchak said, "V'simonich," and your menamenik that will remind you which one said what in the following sentence. Rav Dimi and Rovin. Also Rav Dimi apko, also Rovin katlo. Rav Dimi came and he said the husband removed her. Ravin came and said katlo, the husband killed her. Maybe he first divorced her, then killed her. And then he did both. But they didn't say that. One said he divorced, one said he killed. Rabbi Abba matni chado me'ani v'chado me'ani l'chumu. Rabbi Abba taught a version that follows one of these two versions in one case, and the other one of these two versions in the other case, reflecting the most severe possibilities. Itmar, it was stated, Chamei ha'ur, concerning water heated by fire. Chizkiya Omar, ein otlim em la'yadayim. We shouldn't use this water to wash our hands. But Rabbi Yochanan notlim em la'yadayim. Rabbi Yochanan said we do wash our hands with them. Amar Rabbi Yochanan sha'alti l'Rabban Gamliel b'nei shel Rabbi. I asked Rabban Gamliel, the son of Rabbi, v'eichel ta'ores, and he was one who ate only tahoris. What does it mean he only ate tahoris? It says in number 10, he was paush. He was a paush who was careful to eat even chullin produce in a state of tahara. Make sure everything is pure. It says Rabbi Gamliel was very scrupulous in matters of tahara, and he was also the son of Rabbeinu HaKodesh, whose holiness was renowned. His testimony that one may wash his hands with hot water, one may wash his hands with hot water, is certainly authoritative.
What is authoritative?
Meaning that it has authority, it has importance.
No,
it's good. I mean, it has strength. It has authority, meaning it has strength.
So he washed his hands with the hot water.
Right, so that's what they're saying. Rabbi Gamliel was a very holy person, very pure person. Right? No, he was the son of the Nasi. When Gamliel was maybe later on the Nasi, but he was the point that they're trying to bring his father over here. The Rebbe was renowned with his purity, right, with his tahara.
Whether they're talking about Mayim Rishonim or Mayim Acharonim.
No. I think we're talking about the first waters. Ve'ochel ta'os. It says ve'ochel ta'os, and then he would eat. Ve'omerli, and he said to me, Kol gdoile goli lo yisiken. It is the common practice of all the great scholars of the Galilee to do so. Chamei Tveria, concerning the hot springs of Tveria, so you can still see it today, it's still there. Chizkiya Omar, ein noitlim em lo yadayim. We may not use them to wash our hands before eating. Aval matbilin b'ones hayadayim, but we may immerse our hands in them before eating. What's the idea of immersing the hand? It says in 13, for although such water is invalid for netilas yadayim, it is valid for tvilas yadayim. So what is tvilas yadayim? Immersing one's hands in a mikvah containing 40 seah, as stated in that Mishnah, the tvilas yadayim method is more effective in that it renders the hands toher even for kochim, whereas netilas yadayim method is effective only for chulin and turma. So tvilas yadayim is for eating kochim. So he says chamei Tveria, the hot springs of Tveria, are not good for netilas yadayim, but are good for tvilas yadayim. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, kol gufo tevel bohen, avalei ponav yodav raglo. Rabbi Yochanan says the hot springs of Tveria, one may immerse his whole body in them, but not his face, hands, and feet. Hashta kol gufei tov bohem. Now, if the hot springs of Tiberias are deemed a kosher mikveh, and one is able to immerse his whole body in them, panav yodav v'raglo kol sheken, is it not certain that that his hands, that they are deemed a kosher mikvah to allow, that allows one to immerse his face, hands, and feet? Amar Rav Papa b'kuman v'mekayman dechulam olei pligi deshori. When the Tiberian hot spring waters are in their place in a hole in the ground which contains 40 seah, everyone agrees that it's a kosher mikveh. It's natural water. All agree that it is permitted for one to immerse his hands in them before eating as well. Mishkal mina b'mono. On the other hand, to take from them, from Tiberian hot spring water in a vessel, and to pour them over one's hands, the chulam olei pligid. Everyone agrees that it's prohibited, it's unfit. Ki pligay. When do Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan argued the faskinu bevas birto? One separated a portion of the mikvah water into a small canal or a small channel. This master Rabbi Yochanan holds that we decree that immersing one's hands in the channel is invalid. Last one come to wash with the channel's water using a vessel. But this master Chizkiah holds that we do not make such decree that someone would wash with a vessel. The Gemara corroborates this interpretation of the dispute by citing a similar Tanoic dispute. Ketanoi. And Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan are arguing in Machlekes Tanoim, in the dispute as the Tanoim in the following Brisa. Maim shenifsilu mishtiyas beimo bechelim psulim. Concerning water that became unfit for drinking by an animal, if such waters are in vessels, they are invalid for pouring them over one's hands to render them toher. Bekarka ksherin. If, however, they are in the ground, they are invalid for immersing one's hands in them. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Af bekarka, even when they are in the ground. Toivel ben kol gufa olei ponav yodav v'raglo. He's allowed to wash his body, but not his face, hands, and feet.
How are you going to do that?
Ashta, meaning he can wash his entire body, but he didn't. No. He washes his entire body, but his hands, head, and feet are not considered toher. Meaning just his body is.
So he has to go wash his hands again.
So the Gemara says, how is it possible? If he can do the body, why can't he do his face, hands, and feet? Rather, it is not that they are referring to where one separated a portion of the putrid mikvah's water into a small channel. And they are disputing this very point. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds that we decree that immersing one's hand in the channel is invalid. Why? Because of the concern that lest one come to wash with the channel's putrid water using a vessel. But this master, the Tanakama, holds that we do not make such a decree.
Can I ask a question? Does mind shooting not only apply to Tevila for the whole body, but to the Panam Yadav and Raglav also?
Maim shuvim, it's regular water.
Right, which is drawn.
Yeah. So
in this case, it's taking the water in a vessel, right? From the mikveh.
No, but they're saying that he takes it from this channel that he separated from the mikvah.
Yeah.
And he's
Right.
the concern the concern of Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, the concern of Rabbi Shimon that the channel itself is okay, but he said it's not okay. He's going to take a vessel, fill it up with water from the channel, and dip his hands in them.
So is part of the problem minor to Ubi?
He's saying, why is it not Torah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not connected to the source. What the water in a mikvah are connected to the source, are connected
Right.
to
Yes.
rainwater.
Right.
Amar Ravidi Baravin Amar Yitzchak Barashir Netilas Yadayim lechulin mipnei sach truma. Washing hands for bread of chulin is necessary.
In the mikveh here, there's a hole between the bottom and the top, so it is connected to the source. But a ditch would also be connected to the source, because if it gets water there, you would have a ditch there.
But the Gemara is speaking about a case called Bas Birta, that he separated. He made
You cut it off.
he made a channel from the source, from the, let's say hot springs of Tiberia.
Is it
You
running
open up-
directly from the source into the channel, or is he taking the water and then pouring it into the channel?
The concern is that he separates and then he takes a vessel and table his hands in the vessel.
I understand that.
But according to Tanakama, it doesn't have that decree. He doesn't have that concern.
But still, I still don't understand. In other words, does he transfer the water, in other words, from the mikveh where it is, or does it flow by itself into?
No,
into
he created it. He made it. It says that.
But how does the water go from the first to the second?
Let's say he opened up. He dug another path, and
Yeah, so it's-
now it travels there,
Okay.
like they do canals. The canals that they in Mitzrayim they took from the Niles. They had the
Irrigation.
canals.
Right,
Yeah.
irrigation, but they were still connected to the source.
Right.
So
Over here, he writes since the channel is halachically connected to the mikvah,
Oh,
and
okay.
is itself a valid mikvah. Itself, it's a valid mikvah. There's no concern that one should confuse immersing one's hands in the channel containing the Tiberian, containing the Tiberian hot spring water with pouring such water from a vessel, and saying that just as such water is kosher for tfilas yadayim, it is likewise kosher for netilas yadayim. So I don't want him to confuse it and saying that, like, you can't take today water from the mikvah and wash your hands with it.
Right.
Meaning, you see that it's kosher for tfilas yadayim, but it's not kosher for netilas yadayim. And the fact is that you go out of the mikvah, you wash your hands again.
right.
Why not? Let's take a cup from the mikvah, take the keli, fill it up with the mikvah water, and wash your hands. You can't do it. It's not going to do the job. Meaning, this water are good enough for tfilas yadayim, but they're not good enough for netilas yadayim. So, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar's concern is that someone might take the water and use it for netilas yadayim.
Okay.
Right, but if you do the other one and you immerse the hand, isn't that more
No, he says
purification?
immerse the hand is only, it's good for kodshim. That's what we learned. It's good for eating kodshim. Netilas yadayim is enabling you for eating truma and meiser.
Okay.
Truma and meiser.
See, I'll be-
No, it's saying for kohanim, for example, kohanim, truma and meiser. Tevilas yadayim is helping for kodshim,
Mm.
because the hands have to be tovel as well.
So he has to do both, basically. It's not one that does both.
Yeah, but the interesting part is that one doesn't do the other, and
Yeah.
meaning what is good for netilas yadayim is not good for tevilas yadayim. What's good for tevilas doesn't do netila. Shimon ben Elazar had a concern that people would think that this is good enough for a netilas yadayim.
What is the meaning of
if-
netilat? Netilat?
The word netila is to take,
Take,
to
Like
take,
tila-
yeah. To take the
Take.
lulav.
to take.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and which one
It's
has to
usually
do with drinking water?
translated as washing, but that's not the correct
Right.
translation.
To take.
Right.
Which one has to do with like not being putrid water or not being hot? Like it has to be, an animal needs to be able to drink it. What's that?
Well, for in washing the hands, you need just to have clean water, not heated water. That's the part that we discussed in the beginning. If the water was heated by fire, they're not good enough for washing the hands. That's why we don't use.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's why we don't use hot water for washing the hands.
I just found something very interesting in the notes over here. It says on Netilat Yadayim, some explain that the washing of the hands called Netilah is based on a pasuk in Yeshaya, and the translation is that he bore the Yinatalem and he carried them all the days of old, where this verb means lifting, since the washing of the hands included raising them afterwards, where it says, lift up your hands in the Beis HaMikdash.
Hashem, right?
In other words, so, and it says there was also a specific cleave that they used to have, which was called a natil, which they used in the Beis HaMikdash, which had a revis in it. It held a revis.
So in the Siddur, in the old Siddurim,
Yeah.
they have some laws about Netilas Yadayim. They put in the new Siddurim. I didn't see it, but over here they quote the Gemara and they write, "Amezalzel b'Netilas Yadayim." Someone that is not careful with Netilas Yadayim, mezalzel is not. He's taking it lightly. Bo li de'anius. Comes to be, it become poor if someone doesn't take it seriously. Upirish Rashi says, what does it mean he's mezalzel? Not that he's not washing his hands. It says she'eino rochetz u'meshafif yofeh. He doesn't wash his hands properly and he's not rubbing his hands properly after washing the hands. You want the water to reach the entire hands. So sometimes people are so involved with the food, their mind is like running to eat. If they're not going to come fast enough, the food is going to disappear. So they just do it, and their hands are still wet. You have to wash their hands properly. Make sure. Meshafshef means that you're rubbing them against each other, and then dry them properly. Say the bracha. Raise your hands. Siu yedechem kodesh mean uplift your hand. The verse you just quoted. Siu yedechem kodesh, uplift your hands. Let the water drip down. Uvochu es Hashem. The water that we wash in the morning to remove the purity, we'll put the hands down, right? To get rid of it, don't let it come to you.
Yeah.
But the water we use, the holy water is now. Uvochu es Hashem, bless Hashem. For the bread, yes.
That's how
Says, Amar Rav Chanan, Ana Masai Meloi Chofni. Rav Chanan says, I use lots of water for Netilas Yadayim. Meloi Chofni is a lot of water, like the handful. Meloi Chofni Maya, handful of water. Ve'yahavuli Meloi Chofni Tivusa. And they give me a whole bunch. That's what he said. They give me abundance. It says, and therefore, ein little berevis mayim. Don't put revis mayim. Don't be cheap on the water. Revis, just revis of water. 3.1 ounces. אלא איתול בשפע, גם על חופנוב עד הפרק, all the way to here, to the wrist. Fill it up, make sure it's all wet, it's all proper. With one guy in the yeshiva, he used to fill up the whole keli, and he poured the whole thing in one time. 1, 2, 3. Each one had a whole full cup.
Half hour.
What?
Half hour to do.
No, what I do is I fill up the cup and I use 3 times on one hand, then fill it up again and use 3 times on the other hand. But I don't have a lot of money, so maybe it's better to do it with the other
I
one.
know somebody that's very machmir that makes sure the water goes to the parrot. When he washes for Netilas Yadayim, he rolls up his jacket sleeve and he rolls up his shirt sleeve. In other words, and he pours like all the way, past
the wrist.
Past the wrist.
Oh, okay. But it doesn't say it over here. It says
I
over here.
know.
Everybody got their chumras.
By the way, I remember reading a Maimon once in Chassidus about Mayim Acharoni when it says Zeh Chelech Adam Rasha. In other words, before.
Right, for Mayim Achronim.
For the Mayim Acharoni, it says this is the portion of the wicked man that Hashem assigned to him. It says that you have to give if I remember right, this Maimon said you have to give something over to the Klippas.
Right, the Chitzonim have to get something. So that's the Mayim Achronim. Kabbalistically, we learned right yesterday.
Sodom. The salt
No,
of
but
Sodom.
we learned to remove the salt. But today we don't have that issue.
Yeah.
We don't have that strong salt that they mix it together with the regular salt. So why are we still doing Mayim Achronim? So we're doing it al pi Kabbalah, right?
Yeah.
Kabbalistic reasons. So one of the Kabbalistic reasons is that you feed the other side. Everything is kedusha. You're eating for a holy purpose. You're eating to have life, to have energy, to serve Hashem. What about the klippos? They want something also. The dogs, they want something. You got to throw something to the dog. So that's the washing of the hands. We say Zeh Chelek Adam Rasha. This is a portion of the wicked man. Who's the wicked man?
I saw a shadow yesterday, very briefly, and it was a good shadow. And if it goes on, if Malach Sodomi is still viable, or even in the time when it was still viable, in other words, that we said it's connected to the Suda with the Malach, with the salt, because if it gets stuck to your hands, it can get stuck in your eyes. So the question was, why did we wait till the end of the Suda to wash Mayim Acharoni? It would seem like maybe after Hamotzi, in other words, like when you're dipping the challah into the salt, that would be the time, in other words, that it would be more likely to be dobek to your fingers. So maybe we should wash after making hamotzi.
Because throughout the whole meal they used to eat salt. They used to dip a lot of things in salt. Back in the day, like people ate radishes and other veggies, and they constantly dipped things with salt. Salt was like something that constantly people dipped. So because throughout the whole meal, one washed every 2 seconds. The whole meal, while they were eating, they were still putting salt. It wasn't just the beginning of the meal, 2-3 times on the bread, and that was it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm saying the entire time they were involved with salt. Salt on the table, and they kept on dipping things in salt. Those days, the salt was healthy, not like today that goes through refineries. So, like I told David, it's a healthy salt that actually helps the body. They actually said that a person cannot live without salt. Imagine if you take someone, you strip them completely from salt, he'll die.
Water, bread, and salt.
You have to have salt. Pat b'melach tochel, right? Umayim b'meshura tishted. The Mishnah said, pat b'melach tochel. You have to eat bread with salt.
Yeah. Makes you thirsty too. When you raise your hands after doing Tatadam, do you say the bracha, like, so you wash, raise the hands,
And say the bracha, yeah.
and then you dry it
Yes.
afterwards?
So the first thing is, the Rebbe Marash used to leave some water in the left hand. It's written the Rebbe Marash used to leave some. After that, 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left, and the last one used to leave some water in his palm, and then rub them, and then use that water to rub his hands. The Rebbe Marash was actually the only Rebbe that had a wealthy approach, and the Rebbe also had a wealthy approach, but he acted wealthy also. He had a nice wagon. Those days there were a horse and a buggy, but his buggy was beautiful. He dressed nice. He dressed beautifully.
Do we know which Rebbe
It was the Chatchila Riber. Rebbe Marash was the Chatchila Riber, was meaning you always go above broadness. It was a concept of broadness.
Right.
Rebbe Marash.
Do we know which Rebbe began the minhag of washing with a hentuk, with a towel? In other words, that after you've washed your right
I think
hand,
it's minhag Chasidim. It's not just. I think it's minhag Chasidim. It's custom of. Probably started from the Baal Shem Tov.
But it's not mentioned anywhere in Halakha. I've never seen it mentioned.
No, I saw it written. It says that you should
The problem is
right.
mentioned, in other words, that the drops that are on the
Right.
handle can be matama your hands, which
Right.
are a shenui, But I've
Right.
never seen anything inside which says to wrap the kli with that,
I think I read it that it should be, it's right, and those who are machmirim, those who are scrupulous do it that way. It doesn't say you have to do it, it says those who are scrupulous do it that way.
Rabbi, just one more thing. I think it's interesting the raising the hands. Every surgeon I've seen before going into surgery, they have to raise their hands, and their assistant has to dry them off, and they can't lower it like this. It has to be perfectly like that, so the water doesn't go to the tip of the.
No, it's because of that verse that we said. Some say it before they say the bracha. They say Siu Yedechem Kodesh U'Baruch Hashem. No, I'm saying those who say it before. It's not our custom. It's not a Chabad custom. We just say Al Netilas Yadayim when we wash the hands. No, Mayim Achronim. You wash your hands for a moitzi.
Okay.
So as some have the custom to lift their hands and they say Siu Yedechem Kodesh U'Baruch Hashem. It's not our custom. But what is the meaning of the words? That you uplift your hand and you bless Hashem. That's the meaning of it. How we bless Hashem? We say Baruch Ata Hashem Al Netilas Yadayim. Blessing Hashem. Next, so ketanoi maim shenifselu mishtias beima, concerning water that became unfit for drinking by an animal. So it's unfit for drinking. Why? Because an animal drank from it. Bechelim psulim. If such waters are in vessels, they are invalid for pouring them over one's hands. Okay, so you have you're putting a cup to wash your hands. Your dog came and he touched some of the water. You can't use these waters for washing your hands.
I thought it meant if it was not good enough for the animals to drink, then it's definitely not good enough for you to wash.
Over here it says that it became unfit for drinking by an animal, meaning that an animal drank from it.
I think I remember reading there also, which is connected to that, by Negovasser that you have in the Shison, in the Ford in the morning. If you make a mistake and you even put your little finger into the Negovasser, it passes the Negovasser.
Let me see, maybe for the rabbis, prescribed the Netilas Yadayim is valid only with water fit for drinking by an animal. So you might be right, but according to the simple translation of it, it says for drinking by an animal. The water became unfit for drinking by an animal. So either they became unfit because they got dirty and the animal can't drink it, or they became unfit because the animal drank from it.
The word it uses is putrid, and they brought it up earlier in the other
Right.
page. And,
And
one rabbi said it's not because it's hot water that you couldn't use
Right.
the hot springs.
It got
it's because
dirty.
it's putrid, and even an animal can't drink it.
Right. That's what it says in 24.
It says too salty, foul, or bitter for a dog to drink is invalid for washing their hands, but you could use it for a mikvah.
So, bechelim psulim, if such waters are in vessels, they are invalid for pouring them over one's hands to tender the toher. Bekarka ksherim, however, they are in the ground, they are valid for immersing one's hand in them. So Tevilas Yadayim is that will be okay. Netilas Yadayim they are not okay. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Eimer af bekarka, even when they are in the ground, Tevel ben kol gufoy, even if it's dirty water, one may immerse his whole body in them. Ashta kol gufo tevel boim. Now, here too, the same question can be asked of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. If waters unfit for drinking by an animal are deemed a kosher mikvah, and one is able to immerse his whole body in them, right? Yodo v'raglo lo kol sheken. Is it not certain that they are deemed kosher, a kosher mikveh that allows one to immerse his face, hands, and feet in them? El alav defaskinu bevasbir. So rather, it is not. They are referring to where one separated a portion of the putrid mikveh water into a small channel. Uvehar plige, and they are disputing at this very point. Demar goza savrinan baspirta autumano and mar savo loy gazrinan. One said that we are concerned that he would use a vessel, as I mentioned earlier, and that was Rabbi Shimon Lozo, and the Tanakama said we do not make such a decree. He's not going to use it for Netilas Yadayim. So Amar Ravidi Barobin Amar Yitzchak Barashio Netilas Yadayim lechulin pnei tzach truma. Washing hands for bread of chulin is necessary in order to establish a routine for truma. The only reason why I wash for bread, chulin bread, regular bread, is to establish routine for truma.
So putrid, it sounds like it's just another word for just gross water.
Right.
And I haven't been to the Tiberias hot springs, but a couple of hot springs I have been to.
They smell bad, right?
It smells like really nasty.
Right, rotten egg, yeah.
Yeah, sulfur. So you really wouldn't want to, drink it. Especially if you're going to use your hands to eat bread later, you have that smell on your hand.
Right. Ve'od mishum mitzvah, and also because it is a mitzvah. So one is establishing a routine for truma, to make sure that we're never going to eat truma. If you're a Kohen, you're never going to eat truma without washing your hands, because you're used to washing your hands even for chulin. But if you're only going to wash your hands for truma and not for chulin, so sometimes you can make a mistake and eat truma without washing your hands. So we establish a routine, and even though we are not Kohanim, we are still washing the hands. Ve'od mishum mitzvah, and also it is a mitzvah. The Gemara says, what mitzvah is it? My mitzvah. Amar Rabbi mitzvah lishma divrei chachamim. It is a mitzvah to heed the directives of the sages. A mitzvah to listen to chachamim, to the sages. Rava Omar mitzvah lishma divrei Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. Rabbi said it's a mitzvah to listen to the words of Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. Dichtiv, for it is written, this is from Vayikra, V'chol asher yiga b'azov v'yodov lo yishotaf b'moim, and anyone who touches him, the zav, and he did not wash his hands in water, shall be tomei. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, mikan som chacham letilas yadayim min ha'torah. Rabbi Elazar ben Arach said, from here the sages found support in the Torah for the institution of washing hands before eating bread. The Gemara explains how this verse serves as a source for Netilas Yadayim. Omar le Rav Nachman. Rava said to Rav Nachman, Mai mashma, what is this verse indicates? Dichtiv v'yodov lo yishotaf b'moim. It is written, he did not wash his hands in water, shall be tomei. Ha-shotaf toher. If he did wash his hands, but if the person who touched the zav washed his hands, he is toher. But so 1 second, but he needs a toivel. It's not enough to just wash his hands. Hatvila boy. So why does it say velo shotaf, which means they just need to wash his hands to become toher? But we really know that he has to immerse. He has to do immersion in the mikvah. Hatvila boy. But this is not true. For a person who touches a zav certainly requires immersion in a mikvah in order to become toher. Rather, per force, this is what the pasuk is saying. Anyone who touches the zav, and so too another person who did not wash his hands in water, shall be tomei. It says in number 40, that is, the pasuk is referring to two people. Guy number one who touched a zav, and two, the one who did not wash his hands.
What's a zav?
Zav is someone that has, it's an interesting sickness, that someone has a continuous flow of semen, emission. Without doing anything, is not involved, it just comes out continuously. Wow. I don't know if it's dripping or it comes out heavy, but it's a continuous flow that comes out.
Depends on how many days he sees it also.
Right. So, but that's in general the idea of a zav. There's also in women something called zava. So I don't think it's probably there's once in a who knows, but so that person has a tumor. He's impure, and if he touches someone else, he's making the other guy impure. So over here, the pasuk is speaking about two people. Number one who touches Esav, and number two, the one who did not wash his hands. The pasuk teaches that both are tomeh to some degree. The former is a rishon l'tumah, and requires total immersion, and the latter is tomeh only with respect to eating bread, and requires only netilas yadayim. So tumah also weakens as the first degree of tumah transfers it to the second. The second has less impurity than the first, and the third has less impurity than the second.
I think unclean hands are a second degree.
Okay, take your word for it. The Gemara discusses washing hands before eating produce other than bread. Before eating produce, now, if you're eating a cucumber, you're eating tomatoes, do you have to wash your hands or not? So it says, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Yeshaya, lo amru netilas yadayim leperus ela mishum nekius. It says the sages did not mention washing hands for produce other than bread only on account of cleanliness. It says, Chacham said you should wash your hands for fruits and vegetables, but only for nekius, to make sure that you're not bringing germs into your body.
And Rabbi, also a note back on 36, there's a verse says that Rava does not mean to say that it's an actual mitzvah of the Torah, but rather
hygiene.
Yeah,
it's proper hygiene.
Right, it's a matter of cleanliness, form of holiness.
Yeah. Oh, but form of holiness.
Yeah. And the Jewish people are bidden by God to be holy.
Right. So we know that if it's wet, you should wash your hands. If you're eating anything wet, if the fruits are wet, you should wash your hands. So
before we are notel karpas on Pesach, in other words, we wash our hands, right?
Right.
Seems like it's the same reason.
And of course we dip the karpas in water, right?
But we don't say bracha.
Water with salt.
Yeah, it is.
So Sovo Mino, the students of the academy assumed that to wash hands for produce as there is for bread, there is no obligation to wash one's hands for produce as there is for bread. Ha-mitzvah, but there's still a mitzvah to do so. Amar lu Rava, lo chayva v'lo mitzvah ela reshus. According to Rava, it's not an obligation, it's not a mitzvah, merely optional. Do as you wish. Ufliga de Rav Nachman. Rabbi Yeshaya's statement, the Amar Rav Nachman, anoitel yodo leferus eino ela megasei ruach. Rav Nachman even went further and said that if somebody washes his hand before eating fruits, he is megasei ruach. He is among the haughty of spirit. Why? So it's a lengthy explanation, but I just didn't say it says, since the rabbis did not enact netilas yadayim for anything other than bread, one who washes for such produce is acting haughtily, as he makes himself out to be a person of exalted piety. He wants to show that he's better than other people and he's doing extra things. Amar Rav bar Chana, Ava Kamina Kamei de Rabbi Ami Rabbi Asi. I was standing before Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. Atu lekaimayu kalkalo de pere. They brought before them a basket of fruit, ve'ochlu, and they ate. Ve'lo yimashu yadayu, and they did not wash their hands before eating. Ve'lo yavu lemidi, but they did not give me anything to eat from the basket. Uvori chad lechude, and each one recited Birkas Hamazon after eating for himself. It says in 46, and they did not utilize the principle of Shomea Kohen, listening to a blessing is like reciting and discharge their obligation by having one recite Birkas Hamazon and the other one listen attentively. So they said, each one said about Birkas Hamazon by himself, like our custom to do. Shma min atlas. He said, learn from these three laws, from observing Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, you're learning three things. Shma mina ein netilas yadayim leperos. You're learning that you don't need to wash your hands for produce. Ushma mina en mezamnim ala peros. And you're learning that you don't have to do zimun for the fruits. Ushma mina shnaim she'ochlu mitzvah lecholek. And third, learn from this that when two people ate together, it is preferable for them to separate and recite Birkas Hamazon after eating individually. So, interesting why it says that they said Birkas Hamazon. It was just a basket of fruit.
But maybe they meant the three bracha.
Maybe that's what I thought, but it's just Birkas Hamazon. Interesting expression. So the Aramaic just tell us Uvori chad chad lechuda. Each one recited by himself, but the translation they write Birkas Hamazon. So we learned three things: that you have to say that you don't have to wash your hands, number one, and number two, that they said the bracha of each one to himself, right? And number two was that they don't do zimun, and number three that each one said the bracha on its own. One that was not yotze by the other person's bracha. This was taught similarly in a Vaisa Shnaim She'ochlu, when two people ate bread together. Mitzvah lechalek, it is preferable for them to separate and recite Birkas Hamazon after eating individually. When was this stated? When both of them are scholars who are capable of reciting Birkas Hamazon on their own, both proficient in the Birkas Hamazon. Aval echad sofer ve'echad bur. One is a scholar and one is ignoramus. Sofer mevorech ubur yotze. The scholarly says the bracha, and the ignoramus listens to him, and he fulfills his obligation by listening to him.
Same way with chazaras the shots, right? So
Right.
They can't do it themselves by listening to the chaz and repeat, and they're yotze.
Correct. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught in the Bais until Sedam leChullin Ada Perek. Washing one's hands for Chullin entails washing the upper section of the fingers until the finger point. The finger joint. So a finger joint is here, right? Mm-hmm. But we are more machmur to do it all the way to the wrist. The Truma, washing one's hands for Truma, Ada Perek. Up to until the next joint, entails washing the fingers until the next joint. Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim HaMikdash, the sanctification of the hands and feet that was performed with water from the kier in the temple. May we merit to see it. The washing of the Kohanim in the Beis HaMikdash. Ad HaPerek entails washing the hands up until the next joint. V'chol dovo.
It says where the palm meets the wrist, so that would be the whole hand.
No,
That's the way he's
palm meets the wrist is here, right?
But he must pour the water until another joint where the palm meets the wrist.
That would be the next joint.
Over here it writes clearly that it's the wrist.
There's a picture here.
Right, it's not the whole hand. I mean, if you're calling this the hand, but I call it the whole. Up to here, up to the wrist, yeah. Rashi says clearly up to the wrist.
Right.
So the first joint is these, what we call the knuckles, right?
Right, up to the knuckles.
And second joint, no, the first joint is this.
Right,
Second joint is the knuckles.
right.
And the third joint is here. right? Ad HaPerek
Yeah.
is until the joint is up to here. So if you really don't have water and you did like we do for Mayim Achronim, maybe you yoitze until Sedai. If you're limited with water, you're in the desert or whatever.
So you could just get the tip of your fingers like that.
Yeah.
But we also learned if you need to wash your hands, you could dip your hands in the snow.
Or the ground, or rub them against this, and don't touch the
But
bread.
you
And,
don't say natila, you
Yeah.
say nakia.
and the kiyus yadayim, but you also not touching the bread. So they have to hold it with some other.
Some people say that
Wrap.
if you don't have water to wash, if you have your piece of bread in a baggie, like in a plastic bag, and you don't touch the bread, then you don't have to.
Chol davar shechoitzes betfila baguf, and anything that interposes with respect to the immersion of the body, performed by one who has contracted tuma, choitzes benatilas yadayim, is also considered chatzitza, interposes when it comes to natilas yadayim. Choitzes benatilas yadayim lechulin uvekidush yadayim v'raglayim hamikdash. So anything that is considered chatzitza for mikveh, which is separation, or he calls it interposes, it's like in between, like ring. People that are toveling with a ring, they didn't do the mitzvah of tefillah, they have to remove the ring. Right? So the same thing for netilas yadayim. You shouldn't wash your hands. If it interposes for tefillah, it interposes for netilas yadayim.
What about nail polish?
Same thing. In netilas yadayim, no, because it's customly, it's always there. But for mikvah, they have to remove the.
So that doesn't apply
It's the
then.
same thing
The
with
woman has
the,
to have to remove everything.
Yeah.
But not for netilas yadayim, apparently.
For netilas yadayim, no, they don't have to.
it's the same thing with a sofer who has ink on his hands all the time and it's permanent on his hands, right? That doesn't.
He doesn't have to remove it.
He doesn't
If
have to
anything
remove
is, if you're a painter and you always have a little bit on your
It's
hand,
not dirty.
it's so that would be okay. But if it's usually your hands are clean, and one day you fixed your car or did something and your hands are dirty, you really have to clean them well before washing the hands. Also, you got to make sure before washing the hands that your hands are not wet. We dry our hands, then wash our hands, then we dry them again. Amarav ad kan lechulin, ad kan letruma. One washes up until here for chulin, ad kan letruma, up until here for teruma. Shmuel amar, ad kan ben lechulin ben letruma. One washes up until here, both for chulin and for teruma. So Rav pointed to the second finger joint and said that one must wash up until here for chulin, and then pointed to his knuckles and said that one must wash up until here for Tuma in accordance with just cited Baisa. Shmuel pointed to a certain joint and said that one washes up until this point for both Chulin and Truma. So the Gemara says, Lechumra, and Shmuel issued this ruling stringently. Rav Sheshes Omar, and Rav Sheshes said, Ad kan bein lechulin bein letruma lekula. One washes up until here, both for chulin and for teruma. And he issued this ruling leniently. The Gemara relates, Amar bar Hedya said, Hava kamina kamei de Rabbi Ami. I was standing before Rabbi Ami ve'omar, and he said, Ad kan bein lechulin bein letruma. Rabbi Ami said one washes up until here, both for chulin and for truma. Lechumra, stringently, until the knuckles, in accordance with Shmuel. Velo teima Rabbi Ami mishum dechoenu, and do not say that Rabbi Ami acted stringently only because he was a Kohen. But with respect to a non-Kohen, he would agree that it is not necessary for him to wash beyond the second finger joint for chulin. Do Rabbi Miyosho bar Brei de Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. For Rabbi Miyosho, the son of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi's son, who Levi was a Levi, who did not eat teruma. Ve'omar, and nevertheless he too said, Ad kan bein lechulin Bein letruma. One washes up until here both for chulin and for truma. Lechumra stringently. The Gemara cites an Amoraik ruling. Amar Rav noitel odom eshte odom shachris umasne alem kol hayom kulo. A person may wash his hands in the morning and stipulate that the washing should serve to render his hands toher for eating bread throughout the entire day. That's according to Rav.
We don't know this.
This refers to a person who is washing his hands for some other reason, such as when he wakes up in the morning or after using the bathroom. Rav states that he may stipulate that this washing serve as netilas yadayim for any bread that he may eat throughout the entire day, provided that he is careful not to touch anything that would render them soiled.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. And it does not divert his attention from them, as doing so would once again render them ordinary unwashed hands and unfit for eating bread. If he's not es chadas, he has to constantly thinking about his hands remaining pure. So it's a very unlikely to happen.
Rabbi, I think it's Yom Kippur that you're not allowed to fully wash your hands. That you wash only until
Right, at the end of Yom Kippur, we wash our hands again.
No, but there's a part that you're only supposed to wash.
Right, up to here.
What's the second part? So that's like the actual halachic requirement.
Right.
Anything above.
Right, because we don't want. It's like anything that derives pleasure. We can't do in Yom Kippur. Amalu Rabbi Avina Livnei. Rabbi Avina said to the people, Patko Daroves of the valley of Aroves, Kegoin Atun de Leishchich, people such as you, for whom water is scarce or scarce, it's not common. Mashu Yadaychu Mitzafo, may wash your hands in the morning, Ve'asno alai lechol hayom. So he gave this heter specifically to this people from Pakto de Aroves, a valley of Aroves, which was a place that they didn't have water. He told them to wash their hands in the morning, and stipulate that the washing should serve to render the hands toher for eating throughout the entire day.
Didn't we learn before that a shell can only make one bracha?